The search team looked for 6 straight hours. They found broken trees, a destroyed section of trail, even her backpack, torn open in the mud. But they never found her, because the woman they were searching for was still alive, buried nearly 6 feet beneath tons of mud and shattered rock. She could not move. She could not scream. Every breath stole a little more of the oxygen she had left. Then the ground above her shifted again. A second collapse, rumbling somewhere just beyond her tiny pocket of air. Surviving the landslide had not been the hardest part. The mountain was not finished with her yet. That morning, Jessica had been exactly where she always was, in front of a screen, answering emails she had stopped caring about weeks ago. 26 years old, and life had settled into something painfully predictable. Wake up, work, sleep, repeat. She was not unhappy, exactly, just tired in a way sleep could not fix. She had promised herself something for weeks. This weekend, I'd disappear, not forever, just for a few quiet hours. A trail online caught her eye. Easy hike, perfect for beginners, impossible to get lost, dozens of 5-star reviews backing it up. It felt like exactly what she needed. She packed light the next morning. 2 bottles of water, a flashlight, energy bars, a small first aid kit. As she was locking the door, her phone buzzed Mom calling. She smiled, silenced it, and slid the phone into her pocket. I will call her tonight, she muttered, already thinking about the trail ahead. She had no idea that would be the last easy decision she would make all day. The mountain looked stunning, that morning golden light through the pines, birds circling overhead, a stream murmuring alongside the path. Families passed her with cheerful nods. Nothing about the place looked dangerous. Nature has a strange way of hiding its worst intentions. Sometimes it smiles first. For almost an hour, everything was perfect. Jessica breathed easier than she had in months. Stopping to photograph a waterfall, a cliff, a field of wildflowers she did not know the name of. Then she noticed a narrow trail cutting off from the main path, unmarked, unmapped, but pressed with fresh footprints. Someone had walked it recently. She looked back toward the noise of other hikers. Safety, then toward the quiet path ahead. It looked more beautiful, untouched. Just 5 minutes, she whispered. Then I will turn back. 1 step was all it took. Within minutes, the voices behind her faded completely. The trees grew taller, closer together. The air turned cold, and the light dimmed like a switch had been thrown somewhere overhead. She stopped walking. The trail was gone. She turned in a slow circle. Every tree looked exactly like the last one. Her stomach tightened as she pulled out her phone. No signal. She climbed onto a rock and held the phone as high as she could. Still nothing. Then a branch snapped somewhere deep in the trees. She froze and waited. Nothing followed. No birds. No wind. Just a silence, so complete it felt like the mountain itself was holding its breath. She forced herself to think clearly. Panicking would not get her back to the trail. Only a plan would. Downhill, she decided. Downhill leads the water. Water leads the people. The slope steepened fast. Loose stones rolled under her boots, and exposed roots crossed the path like tripwires. She was watching every step so closely that she almost did not notice the flat rock shift beneath her right foot. For 1 long second, she balanced on the edge of it. Then it gave way, and so did the hillside beneath her. She grabbed for a branch. Her fingers brushed bark and slipped past it. The mountain took her rock, dirt, root, sky, all spinning together until her shoulder slammed into a tree trunk and threw her sideways into a boulder. Everything went black. She came to with a sharp ringing in her ears and pain exploding through her chest with every breath. It took a few seconds of fall to come back to her, the hidden trail, the missing signal, the collapsing ground. She pushed herself up on her elbows. Her right ankle screamed the moment she shifted her weight onto it, already swollen tight against her boot. She tried to stand anyway. Her leg buckled instantly, dropping her back into the dirt. No, she breathed, blinking back tears. Not like this. She looked around for her backpack and found nothing but a torn shoulder strap hanging from a broken branch. Her water, her flashlight, her food, her first aid kit, all of it gone, scattered somewhere down the slope she had just fallen from. Getting lost had been her problem an hour ago. Now she had to survive. She refused to stay still. Waiting meant dying slower, not safer. Using a broken branch as a crutch, she limped downhill, sweat mixing with the dirt on her face. Her throat was already raw, and without water, her body was starting to work against her. Nearly an hour passed before the forest went strangely, unnaturally quiet. No birds, no insects, not even wind. Then a cold gust cut through the trees, and the temperature dropped hard enough to raise goosebumps on her arms. She looked up. Dark clouds were rolling over the ridgeline, faster than any storm she had ever seen move. The forecast said clear skies, she whispered, as if saying it might undo it. Thunder answered instead. The first raindrop hit her hand, then her shoulder. Within seconds, the sky opened completely, hammering the forest so hard she could barely see past her own arm. She pulled herself under a large pine and pressed against the trunk, watching lightning turn the whole forest white for half a second at a time. That is when she saw a movement on the ridge above her. Not an animal, not a person, the mountainside itself. Small stones bounced between the trees, one landing close enough to make her flinch. Then more. The ground trembled beneath her boots, faint at first, easy to doubt. Then it came again, harder, and she felt it in her knees. She looked up just as a long crack tore across the slope above her, spreading until the entire hillside began to move, not loose rocks this time, but all of it. Mud, trees, boulders the size of cars. The whole mountain had broken free, and it was coming straight for her. She did not think. She ran. Pain tore through her ankle with every stride, but fear is louder than pain when it needs to be. Behind her, the mountain roared like something alive, trees snapping, boulders grinding against each other. The sound no longer behind her, but everywhere at once. She glanced back once and instantly wished she had not. A wall of mud nearly 30 feet high was tearing downhill, swallowing trees and rock like they weighed nothing. It was faster than she could ever outrun. A narrow rock ledge beneath a cliff was the only thing in sight that was not moving. She threw herself toward it, and for one heartbeat, thought she had made it. Then a boulder slammed into the cliff face above her, and the ledge went with it. Mud hit her back like a truck. The ground vanished beneath her feet, and the mountain swallowed her whole dirt in her mouth. No up, no down, just darkness closing in from every side. Then silence. She opened her eyes to nothing darkness. So complete, she could not tell if they were open or shut. She tried her legs. Nothing. She pushed with both hands. Nothing. The weight against her chest was unbearable, and every breath came back smaller than the one before it. Panic surged up her throat, and she screamed, but the sound barely left her lips before dirt filled her mouth. She clawed wildly at the soil around her face. More dirt slid in to replace what she had cleared, tightening the space around her chest even further. She forced herself to stop. People trapped underground do not usually die because they are trapped. She remembered reading once. They die because they panic. One slow breath, then another. Her heartbeat began to settle. She tested her arms. Her right was pinned completely, but her left hand still had a few inches of freedom, not much, but enough to slowly clear the dirt from around her nose and mouth, carving out the smallest possible pocket of air. That was when the ground shifted again. A tremor rolled to the earth above her, and for one terrible second the space around her seemed to compress the pile above, resettling, closing in tighter than before. Dirt rained down onto her hands. Her tiny air pocket shrank almost to nothing. She froze, certain the whole mountain was about to finish what it had started. Then it stopped. The settling slowed, then stopped completely, leaving her exactly where she was trapped, but breathing. Twice, she thought. It tried to bury me twice. She did not have the strength left to be afraid of a third. She kept still until she was sure the ground had truly quieted, and only then did she feel something brushing the back of her hand. Faint, cool, air. Somewhere above her, there had to be an opening. If air could reach her, maybe she could reach it back. She began digging again, not wildly this time, but carefully, one handful at a time. Every movement risked bringing the loosened pile down on her a second time. Her fingernails split against buried stone. Blood mixed into the wet soil beneath her hand. She kept going anyway. Then her fingers hit something solid, a rock, too large to work around, blocking the narrow gap she carved. She braced her uninjured leg against the packed earth, pressed both hands to the stone, and pushed. Nothing. She pushed again, harder, a sound tearing out of her that was not quite a scream and was not quite a sob. One more time. Everything she had left. The stone shifted an inch, no more, and a thin blade of daylight cut through the black. She laughed. Then she cried. Then she started clawing at the loose dirt around the opening, widening it handful by handful until she could force one arm through, then a shoulder. For a moment she was stuck half buried. Half Freedom Mountain creaking above her as loose dirt rained onto her back. She twisted sideways, kicked hard with her good leg, and the earth finally let go. She broke through the surface and rolled into the cold rain, gasping, every breath tasting like something she had almost lost for good. She did not know how long she lay there long enough for the storm to start weakening, for the shaking in her hands to fade into something more like exhaustion than terror. She forced herself up, found her branch crutch again, and started down the slope. Every step hurt. Stopping was not an option anymore. After what felt like hours, she saw headlights cutting through the rain a search vehicle, moving slowly along a gravel access road, its spotlight sweeping the tree line. It was the same search effort that had already found her torn backpack hours earlier and had been combing the mountain ever since. Certain they were looking for a body. The truck stopped the moment the light caught her. A man jumped out, staring at the mud-covered, bleeding woman barely able to stand in the middle of the road. Before he could say a word, her legs gave out beneath her. The last thing she remembered was someone shouting into a radio, "She is alive? We found her. She is alive." Jessica survived. Doctors later told her something that still runs cold through her. The landslide had buried her nearly 6 feet down, and a second collapse had compressed the space around her even further while she was trapped. A few more inches or a few more minutes without air, and the outcome would have been very different. The first thing she did from her hospital bed was call her mother back. Months later, once her body had healed, she returned to the mountain not to hike, and not to prove anything. She stood at a safe overlook and looked at the scar the landslide had carved into the slope. From that distance, it looked peaceful, silent, like nothing had ever happened there at all. But Jessica understood something most people never have to learn. Nature does not hate you. It does not choose its victims. It does not care who you are. Survival is not always about being the strongest. Sometimes it is just about refusing to stop one breath at a time. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, tell us in the comments what would you have done if you were trapped beneath that mountain? And if you want another story like this one, make sure you are subscribed. The next one might be even worse.